down in Columbia. Ben, good to have you on, man. That is a tough break for your Missouri Tiger basketball team.
Man, it is bad news, devastating news, McGraw, and almost kind of, familiar. It seems like this is now the second year in a row where the player, not just the player, the Porter, the Mizzou basketball team was planning on playing through, is now out for the season, and basically right as the season is getting underway here. So last season was kind of a reminder that it doesn't have to be a death sentence. You can bounce back and have a good season. I think the guys that were on that team last year can draw from that. But man, Jontay was going to be fun to watch, and a lot of people were excited about seeing him. I know Konzo was excited about coaching him. He according to some, turned down a chance to maybe go in the late to mid first round this season in the NBA draft, and wanted to come back and get stronger and really become kind of like a top 10 lottery pick type, and this is going to be a setback in that. So he'll have to wrestle with does he go to the NBA, does he come back and try to prove his health and that the knee is good to go, but they're going to be without him for this year, and it really kind of creates a bit of a vacuum, because he was supposed to not only put up a lot of points but help with the ball handling and really kind of be the player that prioritized their scoring. So an opportunity for others, but certainly a blow for a team that was picked ninth in the conference that I thought was a little low. But now it's probably maybe optimistic.
I've never heard of anybody have an ACL and an MCL at the same time. I mean, it must have been a devastating injury. What do we know about what happened?
Well, they were in a secret scrimmage. Teams do this now where they scrimmage other college teams, but they don't want they can't make it known because for NCAA reasons and yada yada yada. But they were in a secret scrimmage against Southern Illinois, apparently a non-contact injury. I don't know what exactly happened, but it is not uncommon for those injuries to happen at the same time. If it's a lot of times it's they can both happen at the same time. So that's not all that rare, but it does suggest it was not a subtle tweak. It was a bad one. It's really cruel because just the day before, Mizzou had its tip-off event where after the football game, they had, folks come over to the basketball arena, did a dunk contest and did a little scrimmage just to give folks kind of a teaser of some of the new players,
sure,
things like that. And Jontay really looked good to the point that, he at one point jumped up and threw down a putback dunk that we had never really seen him get up like that before. And he was asked about it after that scrimmage, and he said that, he deals with, knee tendonitis. He has always had, sore knees off and on. His family has a long history of knee problems. It's from starting with his dad who has, you can tell as he walks around the court, he's got problems with his knees. So, but Jontay was using this in a positive way. He was saying, I feel great. My knees are behaving. I feel like I can jump and fly and do the things that I've always, wanted to do, but haven't always been able to show I can do. And then the next day this happens. Just a cruel thing for him to have to talk about, how good he feels in that area, and then the next day, one bad move, and all of a sudden your season's over.
So last week you were on the show, and then you went, I guess, and had a news conference with Mo, and everybody was all aflutter over what Mo said. Did he say anything about Bryce Harper or allude to Bryce Harper in any way, shape, or form?
Well, you can't. I mean, you can't say until free agency officially begins. You can't talk about a guy. You'd face punishment from the league. But
right.
He did say, he said they need a hitter. He said that's at the top of their shopping list. He did talk a lot about his decisions are going to look for offense, and there's only so many positions to upgrade. At least that makes sense on paper right now. That could change. And he talked about kind of the need for someone who stabilizes the middle of the lineup. He also said that, look, some of the decisions that we make might not be the popular ones. So I think he's trying to acknowledge that they need an offensive boost. He's also trying to, I think, fan the flames a little bit that it's Harper or bust this offseason, because that's not ever how the Cardinals operate.
Right.
So he did not throw gas on the fire, but he did say we need someone who can be kind of a middle-of-the-order presence in the lineup, because we've once again lacked that.
He did throw a little shade on Ozuna, though, with that shoulder injury.
A little, no, more than that. He basically, I think, got tired of being asked why the Cardinals didn't get Ozuna's shoulder right, and very adamant about pointing out it's a two-way street when it comes to that. I think they felt like Marcel, for whatever reasons, was kind of stubborn when it came to getting treatment, and that's going to be a big theme of the offseason is guys being diligent, getting right, and coming into spring training ready to go, not coming into spring training ready to find out what's wrong. And it makes every sense for Marcel to do that this offseason. I mean, he's entering a contract year. He's not just playing for the Cardinals this season. He's playing for every other team that might want to sign him. So, he made a commitment to the team to be ready to go. They've told him they will help him in whatever way they can, no matter where he is this offseason. He just has to follow through with it. He's supposed to meet with his doctor, around the end of the month, and they're going to decide what exactly the plan is. I guess there is still, some sort of a chance there could be some sort of operation, but it did not sound like that, at least at the press conference. So it sounds like it's going to come down to rehab and, physical therapy, which if he's not diligent in, then I don't know how he could expect much different results next season.
And then lastly, Ben Frederickson, STLtoday.com, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, sports guru. Do you agree with me, or are you wrong-headed when it comes to the bullpen use, right? The Brewers, great bullpen. Was it just burned out and abused and exhausted, so overused that they couldn't overcome the Dodgers?
Well, I mean, they didn't have any other options, McGraw. I mean, if they had a bunch of good starters, I think they would have done a more traditional style. The Brewers' weakness all season has been their starting rotation, so they tried to find a way to work around that. And the way to work around that is to lean heavily on an elite bullpen that only got better as the season went along. I mean, that's risky anytime you're doing it, but more and more teams are doing it toward the postseason when every game matters so much. So if they were sitting or pulling really good starters all the time to do it, I would say, yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that. If they're pulling Clayton Kershaw off the mound in 2 innings, then I'm not thinking it's the greatest idea. But they don't have that guy. They had one good starter. One of their other starters, Gio Gonzalez, went down. So he had an ankle injury, so they even lost one of them, and he was just okay. So they really didn't have any other option. I think what they were trying to do, and I understood it, was they were just trying to pitch their best pitchers as much as possible, and in their case, their best pitchers were relievers. So inevitably, it didn't work out, but they got further than most teams, and the Dodgers are a team as loaded as you're going to find. I mean, the Astros are like that. The Red Sox are like that. To compete against the Dodgers in that setting was impressive, considering the difference in team makeup. I think the Brewers just maximized what they had.
Yeah, right.
And they had a big hole in their game, and they did their best to mask over.
What are your thoughts on this Benjamin Hockman? What do you think of him? Is he a good guy?
Yeah, he's a colleague of mine and a friend.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you see his tweet the other day when he asked, where were you when Adam Wainwright threw the curveball to Carlos Beltran? Did you see his tweet?
Yeah, I love Wainwright's response. But something about the game lasting too long and him falling asleep.
That's exactly right, right? What have I been arguing over for years? Right?
I thought you may have ghostwrited that.
No, I did not. I did not hack into Adam's Twitter account. I did not.
You can't make Cardinals hacking jokes, McGraw.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. That's one. And then two, remember, Bryce Harper hits well at Busch Stadium. He hits Cardinal pitching well. I think you should do some stats, stat boy, between how Bryce Harper hit the Cardinals pitching at Busch Stadium versus how well he hit Cardinal pitching in Washington.
Okay, I'll do some numbers about how well he hits at Busch Stadium and also how well he hits at Wrigley Field, and point out to you that he hits better at those two venues compared to most of the other venues that he's played in.
But he's
I'll do the pitching analysis too.
But because he's hitting against, maybe he just hits Cubs pitching very well. Maybe he hits Cardinal pitching very well. Right? So you have to.
Do you not believe that certain stadiums have better effects on certain hitters?
Well, yes, but
there's a reason that when the guys go to Milwaukee, they hit bananas, because there's a great batter's eye where they can see the ball better and the ball carries.
Yeah, but
certain stadiums tend to benefit certain hitters a little bit better. And yes, you can't factor out the pitching, no doubt.
I've never heard a batter.
You're also not facing the same pitcher every time you play in one of these places. Oftentimes, you're rarely facing the same.
Well, right,
the same
but
pitcher.
but I've never heard somebody say, "Boy, I used to really crush Adam Wainwright at Busch Stadium, but boy, I couldn't hit him in our home ballpark." Right? If you can hit a pitcher, you can hit him anywhere. And if a pitcher roiled, right? And so it isn't so much the park; it's the person you're batting against. Is my argument.
It's a combination of both. I mean, there's a reason that, like, here's an example. Luke Voigt, right? He had, I think, like 4 home runs for the Cardinals when he played for the Cardinals. He went to Yankee Stadium, and he hits one every time he goes to the plate. There's a reason that his swing complements their short porch. So the balls that were maybe fly ball out in St. Louis turn into home runs in New York. For him, that's a great place to play. If you can't hit it that way, or if you can't hit it that way with power, then playing there doesn't make that much of a difference.
I want to know.
Certain guys have certain swings, and certain guys hit better in certain parks.
I want to know if Bryce Harper hits better Cardinal pitching at Busch Stadium or at Washington Park.
I will. I'll do some research for you. We'll talk. Let's revisit this next week.
Oh, we're going to revisit it, Ben.
Hey,
Ben,
can I tell you one thing before I go?
yes.
I've never once seen a college football coach light up in a press conference like it was Christmas morning. That is apparently the powerful impact that Jim Holder's voice can have on a man.
Oh, of course. Jimmy Holder, right? Famous, legendary broadcaster. Absolutely. Ben, have a good week. Thanks, man.
All right, man. See ya.
Ben Fred with us every Monday, and he'll have those numbers for us next.